Fortnite Absolute Doom. This season has many things so far, but a disappointment is not one of them. So in this video, I will be breaking down everything new, what has returned, and overall the general state of the game, and at the end, I'll rate the season 1 through 10 based on what we've seen so far. Starting with the new POIs, and general additions on the map. First off, Castle Doom is a fantastic POI. I think this is a castle POI done right. First off, the aesthetic is phenomenal, and I did mention in my last video that I think the graphics gave me a Chapter 4 vibe, and I think I'm still correct. And this is also a good thing in my book, as I believe that the Chapter 4 aesthetic is by far the best out of all chapters. But my praises don't end there though, as I really like Castle Doom's layout, and the general structure and architecture in this POI is masterful and has medieval vibes to it, that I can't help but love. And it even has a redeploy in the smokestack, and overall Castle Doom is just a very strong POI. Definitely a top tier and a highlight of Chapter 5. Next is the raft. Now, I did really like the raft in the showcase for the season, and I still think it's phenomenal. However, I do believe it is one of the weakest additions to the map in this season due to the layout, and the repetitive environment of the prison cells. But that's not a huge issue. However, my other big issue I take with this POI is the fact that the Marvel Mythics don't really spawn here that often. I don't know what it is, but it feels like in contrast to Castle Doom or Doomstat, there aren't nearly as many here. Which is not too big of an issue, but it's still relatively impactful. Definitely not a bad POI whatsoever, just not my first pick for this season. Next we have Doom's Courtyard, and I'm going to say this now, I really like this POI. Is it as good as Classic Courts? No. However, in comparison to the newer POIs this season, it really stands its ground and stands out. And it's a good landing spot for ranked play. And the final addition to this map so far this season is my personal favorite, Doomstat. I don't know what it is about this POI. Maybe it's the abundance in loot, maybe it's the layout, maybe it's the general location surrounding it. I really don't know. But what I can say for a fact is that this POI is spectacular and my favorite landing spot of the season. Now let's get into the loot pool additions. First off, we received the Striker Burst AR and the Striker AR once again. Both of these are phenomenal, and the AR side of the loot pool is very strong this season. Nothing is lacking really. Next, we got the Monarch Pistol, which is honestly super good. Think of it like if the Desert Eagle damage met the revolver's fire rate. It's extremely strong, but it wasn't overpowered. But apparently the pros thought it was overpowered because it's already received a nerf. But that doesn't stop this weapon from being phenomenal. Next, we got the SMG loot pool, with the additions of the Hyper SMG, which is statistically one of the worst of all time, but in contrast we got the dual micro SMGs, which have an insane fire rate along with decent damage. These things aren't overpowered though, due to the small magazine size and the short to mid-range use for these guns. We will never forget you, Thunderburst SMG. And finally, we got the Sovereign Shotgun. Think of it like if the lever action was actually good. I know, I can already hear the typing of people saying, what about the Chapter 2 Season 5 version? And while I do think that version was phenomenal, the modern day lever has been around for more seasons and is absolutely atrocious. But the point still stands that the Sovereign is fantastic. However, something I don't get is why this abomination of a shotgun hasn't been wiped off the face of the planet yet. Why has the single worst shotgun been in for the entire chapter? Oh wait, I know. It's because the 7 people in the community who like this gun would cry over it if they got removed from Fortnite. So Fortnite continues to keep it in. I will trash on this gun sooner rather than later. Continuing though, now we have the current Marvel Mythics, that being the whole War Machine set and Captain America's shield. Surprisingly at launch, I think these things weren't super overpowered. They were definitely a little too strong and they needed a nerf, yes, but I don't think they were nearly as bad as the cars were on launch last season. But surprisingly, they were nerfed, and they were nerfed just right. They were actually balanced, I would say. And now that they're balanced, I need to say something. Epic. Don't nerf these again. Listen, I'm all for balanced items. That's how the loot pool should be, but these are currently balanced. But if Epic pulls a Chapter 5 Season 3 where they nerf everything to the ground just because a certain side of the community is begging for it, then that's not going to make this season any better. Epic needs to learn that they can't appeal to everyone. But for the final main addition to the loot pool so far, we have the medallions. Now, hear me out. At first I thought these things were extremely underpowered and were the worst part of the season. Now don't get me wrong, I still think they are absolutely the worst part of the season. But the medallions have kind of grown on me a little bit. I think Doom's medallion is pretty solid, and I think Emma Frost's is super handy. However, we don't talk about Mysterio's medallion because, realistically, it should be nuked off the face of the planet. But I really don't think these medallions are atrocious. They're not spectacular, yes, but I think they get a little too much hate. But once again, I'll reiterate that I believe these are the worst items in the season by far. But now we gotta talk about what we want to see in the season. Me personally, the first thing that needs to happen is we need to split the loot pool. I'm confused if Epic didn't learn their season from last season or what, but we need to do this as soon as possible. Because ranked is kind of a nightmare at the moment, and they haven't slowly splitting the loot pool, but we just need to take an immediate action and do this all at once and split everything right now as fast as possible. Next, we need Marvel LTMs. It can be the new ones or the old ones, I don't care, but we need LTMs back in the game. Next thing we need is the OG Marvel Mythics to come back in the game. Not all at once, but slowly over time implement more and more of them. The next thing we need to do is please bring back Shockwaves in competitive. This is just a little nitpick, but it made absolutely no sense to remove them whatsoever. And finally, here's how I would introduce Fortnite Mirrors this season. So we can obviously see that Doom is trying to bring back Mephisto for some reason, which, if you don't know who Mephisto is, essentially Mephisto is the devil in the Marvel comics. But if we're going to bring Mephisto onto the island, then we should use him to his full potential. Have him revive Galactus and have a boss fight with Galactus. Maybe something kind of like the Storm King fight, but instead of using guns, you use the Marvel Mythics. And maybe have Mephisto bring back the cube creatures or something, I don't know. I just want to utilize Mephisto for Fortnite Mirrors this year as much as possible. And if Epic plays their cards right, we could have a pretty solid Fortnite Mirrors this year. But with all that out of the way, let's move on to shoutouts. So if you didn't know, at the end of all my videos, I shout out a creator who I believe is severely underrated or the algorithm just doesn't do justice. And today's creator is none other than Kirby Lover. Now, Kirby Lover mainly makes Fortnite content speculating what possibly could come up in events, or what we could receive in the future, or just general reviews. So it would mean a lot to me and him if you could go over and drop this man's channel a sub. And real quick, I would like to shout out Demonic for becoming the first ever channel member. Truly the GOAT. And furthermore, we now have memberships on the channel. And I also have a Twitter. The links for both of these will be down in the description below, as well as Kirby Lover's YouTube channel. But anyways, thank you all so much for watching, and as always, have a lovely night.